So these are strip tilled, and then we're seeded into here. And we also, just before closing, we'll run through something called a damadiker to keep water erosion from happening. So a damadiker is just full of paddles, so we do a small, we cut some of the weeds in here, and then the damadiker leaves pots. So if you walk down here, it's pretty bumpy, and that's so that the water doesn't erode. Water can sit there, drain down, and get to the roots of these. So here's a Great Northern bean plant. They never have much for, and I had to cut some of it off. So, but this thing's down probably right to the bottom of the strip till, and otherwise it's only probably about this high because it spreads out. It doesn't like hard soil, and so the bean plant, they got pretty weak roots. We did have a little bit of hail, so you see a little bit of erosion on their side there, but a relatively okay plant. If you look, we've got some pin pods coming yet, a couple more flowers, and what do you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like this plant could still hit 20 pods, 25. So it's looking good right now. It's probably our best quarter, right?
The other one I think is a little bit better.
Is it? Okay. But I think the big thing, and we're drying them down right now. When you stress them, they want to flower, and we get something. We have to work with white mold, which is driven by mushrooms, and so what happens is we have to dry out the top inch, and then we soak it for a week and a half, and then we try and dry it out again. That helps to kill the white mold. Right now, virtually no disease. There's a little bit of stuff going on here, but not much. Grasshoppers, and that's about it. But the difference between trying to, and I'm not sure this is a great place. It's only been irrigated for a year and a half, or 2 years. But I can hardly put it's tougher to get in the soil in between than right in the row of here. What's that? Oh. So this shovel goes down quite easy, about 6 inches, and that's really what gives these beans an advantage. And you can see, I mean, those are pretty long roots for beans. Like that's a nice root. I'm just trying to see if I can get the whole root, but maybe not. And no wind erosion, which is just really happy. Yeah, see, look at the roots that are down there. So they're down 5.5 inches with a lot of small roots, and that's what gives the plant a chance to really do a good job. So we're a bit dry right here, so the water will be coming on. If we have to put fungicide on, but it'll be probably by the weekend. So, yep. I don't know. Questions?
So did you strip till from the start with dry beans, or did you start?
No, we started the typical work it twice, and you did see that those roots went like this, and these roots are coming down this far. Anytime you have a healthy root, got to have a chance.
So you would be strip tilling deeper than you would have with just regular tillage?
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason in a bean field you want to go down this far, right? So you'd probably be here, and then you get a bit of a hard pan, and those bean roots, they're not like, wheat or something like that, where wheat will just power through, or canola will power through. Beans won't do that.
Are you putting down a fertilizer packet when you strip till?
We have been. Because we use manures, we're using less and less fertilizer, eh? So we try and manure, so it's a bit of a balancing act. I don't know what the package on this one was, but we do a in furrow, and then we will put some fertilizer on with the pivots. So depending on crop need.
The manure piece, is it cost prohibitive because you're so far out here?
Yeah, trucking's the biggest thing. Yeah.
But you
But
still
if you-
think it's worth it?
You know, I grew up in a livestock area. I seen what you could do with shit soil, turn it into something, and so yeah. I mean, the funny thing is, when I started hauling shit up here, everybody else looking around going, "What's wrong with this guy?" Now I see shit trucks going further than I am. So, people start figuring out that the package you're getting out of manure, and when you have manure within 18 miles, it still works. I mean, I'm fussier on what kind of manure and what it looks like in the pen, and we don't like rocks and concrete, so you sometimes have to twist the short hairs of some of these operators to say, hey, it's clean or we don't take it. But we've manured all 3,000 acres here, pretty well twice on all of it, and now we're doing more just top up, but just to give it that boost. And it absorbs water way better, holds water way better.
And if you look at your phosphorus soil test now versus when you started here, it's just completely different, because there's a lot of 6s and 5s and 4s, and now we're in the 30s plus.
Yeah.
And everybody knows, especially beans and these type of crops, they like good soil phosphorus.
Yeah. So, yeah, you just.
What are you targeting for nitrogen? 100 pounds total. If that, I'm thinking we should go less. Seeing too much vegetative growth. Sorry?
We've been working around the 9.
Yeah.
Total.
Yeah.
Like in soil and applied. Yeah.
Hey John, for strip till machine, do you ever use it for weed control?
No, we don't. Well, partly we don't have the wings on it, so we have a separate the Damadiker, the paddle machine. That's a separate machine.
And does that do enough weed control or just make it?
Well, yeah, I was going to mention that. So we have too much of this because we're not. I mean, this thing got hurt a little bit, but we're just not. We're not winning on some of the kochas and whatnot.
Is that from manure coming in?
Oh, probably, but I mean, there's not been manure on those the fields next door, and they got kochia too. I mean, you can see where the weed tumbles and and you can see this. So I mean, it's all over. But we're just having a tough time dealing with these guys, and these are no fun because when you cut beans, you have a bar that runs against where you're going, pulls the beans up, picks them up, and plants like this either get wrapped around the bar or give us trouble. So that's more than I want to see, that kochia right there. It's been a challenge, and last year when we went no-till with beans, it was a wreck. I mean, it was tough to cut. It was not as good a crop as it should have been. Things were cold. Yeah. So, but we've never tried no-till beans. I don't think I would.
You ever tried narrow?
Narrow rows? Yeah, like the guys in Bow Island and Manitoba. I kind of came to the conclusion that if you're going to spend money on trying to grow beans on irrigated land, which is expensive, you better go for production. So those guys are fine with cheaper land. They'll say, you know what, we're fine with 2,000 pounds or 2,200. We want more than that because it's expensive land.
If we got maize like this year every year, I think no-till would work. You get 30 degrees early on, warms the soil up. But when you get a frost until the long weekend in May, like we had the 2 years prior, yeah, then no-till beans ain't gonna work because the ground is gonna be so cold that, if these things aren't out of the ground in 3 days, you're gonna have trouble.
You want to see beans twice in a week, when you pour them in the planter and when they're coming out of the ground. If you can do that, usually you got a chance on beans. But when it sits for 12 days, it's going to be a weaker bean crop. So, and actually these beans are fairly tasty, the small ones right now, but like you can actually eat them. If you had butter with them, they'd be way better. But yeah, they we if everything works good, there I hope there's 3,000 pounds here.
So you say you had a bar cutter, or do you undercut?
Yeah. So we have a one step it's called. Yeah. So it you run the tractor in the row and you have a divider that cuts those 2 rows and kind of throws them off, and then behind is a bar, or double bar actually, and then it picks it up with it and puts it in a row. Then you throw 42 feet together and then combine with a special combine. It's a pull type. It's actually a peanut combine out of Brazil. Yeah. So we don't have augers on the combines. It's all buckets or tipping, because beans are very fragile and you're going to eat them directly. Other than a bit of cleaning, you're eating them directly from my farm. Yeah. So, but overall, I think strip till is making progress. So we can beat the weed issue. There's a lot of things I like about it.
What kind of herbicide can you put on, or even before planting or whatever?
Well, that's the problem. If it's edge, how do you work it in properly? So then we're just watering it in. And the more trash you have, the less effective it is. And then these kochas keep coming and coming.
And your in-crop herbicide choices in beans are very limited.
Yeah, you got Bassigram Viper. Yeah. Good. And then I was just going to mention, so this was dry land before. I hate these bloody dry land corners. They look like shit. So we put these little pivots up so they pick up about 12 acres. And then this thing here, once we get it to the road, we're not doing it anymore because we're finished that side. We actually walk it right across the road with a payloader on the end, and electrical, just walks it right across the road, clamp it down, and run the other side. So we put water and electricity underneath the road. And
Everybody's looking at Claudette. She's waving.
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
We're talking butter.
Only out in the country.
So, and you know, it just, to see 12 acres, it's actually almost looking like the rest of the field. Like this isn't quite as good, but it's getting
How
there.
much more is that in an Enga?
Huh?
How much more is that in an Enga?
Oh, you mean a corner system?
Yeah, the corner system.
Well, this depends on your setup. I mean, it's obviously more expensive, but corner systems are really a problem. You're always fixing them, you're always pulling them, and after 15, 16 years, you can throw them in the ditch.
And there's, the big thing you get away from here is all the edges, like between your dry corner and your
You
pivot.
turn around, right?
And
like-
so your overlaps, all that sort of stuff is gone.
And we do have variable rate irrigation on a few of these quarters. If Lewis ever got his shit together and actually got instantaneous readouts as the pivot goes, which is my dream,
I was waiting for your investment.
anyways, if we can actually look at the crop or look at LiDAR or something and look at the moisture and instantly feed it back to all these little switches on here, then I think you would see VRI really take off, and then we can also see a real reduction in water usage. Like right now, we do it based for the most part on what we know about the field and elevation. So low spots we don't run at a lower rate. But if we could actually go to crop usage, it'd be worth putting it on if we got some benefit from saving water. So, and someday we will get benefit from saving water because it's
There will only be a limited amount.
limited amount.
If you only get your 10 inches, you're going to
Yeah.
have to save it.
Yeah, so that's one thing we want to keep working at. But somebody's going to come out with a scanning system that can feed back and just as you go. And they're not far off, but there's a lot of bullshit artists promising you everything and not delivering. So until that's done,
Just get a rainmaker. It'll save long.
yeah.
The rainmaker, yeah.
So yeah, that's all I have.
Join me in thanking John and Lewis for last